Title of this video is Doer of the Word. What does doer of the word usually mean for most people? They read something in the Bible and about being a good Christian. I sort of laugh, but I don't mean any ill will towards anybody who's a young Christian who feels that he has to do a certain thing in order to please God or be at peace with himself and his surroundings. Let every man be at uh, what's the word? Let every man be convinced in his own mind, and whatever you feel is sin unto you, that's sin. But hopefully, in time, you'll grow up and you'll go past the vestiges of baby Christianity, and usually falls into 4 or 5, maybe 6 classes of events. You go to church and you read your Bible. That's 2, and you want to witness to somebody several times a day, and let's see, possibly you'll sing in the choir, and of course tithe, and and then pray over the food. And if you're in a family but your parents aren't saved or are saved, you're going to be submissive to your parents. And I mean, those are all more or less good things. I don't want to create sedition and heresy here, but there was a group that existed during the time of the early apostles called the Hermes group. I sort of like the way the Hermes, if I'm pronouncing this right, the way they developed. What they would do is they would get someone to be more or less proficient. It took about 2 years, they said, for that person to get proficient, develop a walk, and know how the Spirit works, and so on and so forth, know His voice and so on. And then they asked if that person would then, based on an experience, of course, write down things that would add to a library of information. Because the Bible is a book, but we're also books too. We're living books, and this is, of course, what Jesus perhaps meant when He said, "For if all the books had been written, the whole world couldn't contain them." Well, all the books to be written is we're the books. We as individuals are books. We're living epistles. But sometimes in the character or caricature of the Christian walk, too often it's like like a cookie cutter approach. Everybody wants to mimic the other person, and they go to church, and praising God, and they get up and they worship, and everything's going really good. But I'm not so sure that that's quite what doer of the word is. Only you can pray to God and hear from God. You can probably hear for other people, and other people can hear for you, but eventually only you can do the job, and you have to do it by yourself. You may be in a congregation with many other people, but each and every one there is being dealt with God on a one-by-one basis with that. You may feel you have some sort of fellowship and when you're in a group and so on, but God has this very special way of getting down to each individual and getting him to grow and mature and so on. It, by and large, should be a very fun thing to do. And I don't know, for those of you who may have had drug backgrounds or you did any number of crazy or stupid things, you killed people or whatever, and you repented and you got salvation. That's great. I mean, all the more power to you. I bless you in your pursuit of happiness. You too have to decide if you're going to be a doer of whatever word that God's telling you directly. Move on the impulse. Not everything has to necessarily be told you. Wake up in the morning, you get your coffee, or you go to the bathroom or whatever. Surely you're not praying about that. You're not going to tell you about. You don't ask God to tell you about things you already know about. I mean, or else because things will get a little too crazy here. And of course, people sit there and say, "Well, I got to have God in every aspect of my life." Well, first learn how to wait on Him and keep your mouth shut, and then wait for Him to talk. And it may be that because you're not mature enough, it may take years, decades before He talks about certain things. If nothing else, you maintain a clear focus. The pure in heart here are not the ones that are goody two-shoe Christians per se. The pure in heart are the ones that are focused. Focused on doing God's will and whatever they may be. But don't delude yourself into thinking, well, because I went to church and because I read my Bible and I did this and I did that, that I'm now a doer of the word. You're no mechanics, and we can maybe call those kind of things spiritual mechanics, or following other people's type of structures for a walk. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're a doer of the word. The doer of the word is whatever God gives you in this precise moment to do, because in that respect there is no word for it. There's no Bible that's going to be in front of you to tell you what this is going to happen the following day or whatever, unless you get some direct revelation or something. I had a situation where I was on the street and I actually saw in a vision this car hit this other car and knock it over, and then 30 seconds later it happened. But that's just something that just happened by accident. I wasn't looking for it. Doesn't mean I shouldn't ask. And I do. I ask a lot of questions. Probably I'm asking somebody. I probably ask 5,000-10,000 questions a day about everything. What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? I don't even ask. I just, as soon as I look, I'm saying, what's going on here? So it's all right to be a doer of the word and be in your church group and do what you feel that you think is doing the word is, but ultimately doing the word comes down to you, God, and whatever you have to do. Moving his impulse, you feel the impulse to go do something. Don't delude yourself with this idea that, well, no, I don't have a pure heart, and the heart is deceptively wicked and all that stuff. And, forget that His Spirit is inside you. And you can't sin. First, I think First John talks about this. But your soul can still sin. That's another story. That's where some of the confusion comes. And you have to recognize the difference between the two, and hopefully you'll experience what the difference is between those two. For without that experience, and without any of the experiences along with everything else, it's just words on a page. It don't mean anything. There's more than just the initial salvation. But if you just want initial salvation, you want to go to heaven, that's the end of it, then why even bother to go to church? Just wait for the grim reaper to come.